But we're here now.
Last we left off, things had gone great. But before that, how's everyone doing?
Uh, I ate 3 Texas
So
Roadhouse rolls for breakfast, so I'll let you be the judge of that.
I had an 8 a.m. meeting on a Sunday.
That's disgusting.
Awful.
It's 1:06 a.m. on a Monday for me, and I'm trying to wrangle you four into just getting this going.
You asked the
So
question.
we're all having hard times.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you were complaining about stuff, and I didn't expect that. I was going to say that it's no wonder people don't watch us with how riveting your answers were. And I thought I'd go for the softer joke. No, last we left off, things were great. Frankie was dead with a broken neck, but had woken up and was in pain. Bartleman was being kept somewhere, and had been recently hung down a hole with a noose to deliver a message to Nisakana, who was in pit jail. And Morvathra was talking to a witch who had feeble-minded Corvus, but that witch is, of course, Corvus's master. So it's not all doom and gloom. The next day dawns as Frankie awakes. I think we went over how sore your neck was. Corvus, you're still feeble-minded, which kind of means you're not going to remember anything that happens until you are unfeeble-minded with your 1 intelligence. Nisakana,
Uh-huh.
do you sleep?
I think I do eventually, but not very much and not very restfully.
Okay. Enough to get a long rest, do you think?
Um, well, I
Are you
did
looking to
say
see
that
if you need a long rest?
yeah, because I have all my stuff is full, but I don't know why. But it says we
Right,
had a
you
long
did a long
rest.
rest last. You did a long rest last week, so we'll say that you do on and off
I must have.
get
Yeah.
8 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Bartleman, you also get a long rest.
So I'm not
You
dead
are being
anymore.
kept in a. You weren't dead ever.
I was down, I mean.
Yeah. Well, you wake up from that because you were stabilized at some point. You do wake up the next day and you do get a rest. Make sure also we did level up last week, so if you didn't roll your hit dice,
Oh,
just
I
put it in now.
didn't
I
do
think
that
Andrew,
at
you
all.
might have. Yeah, I think you left pretty quickly, so that could.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You left before
I
the
had
customary
my
big
Strahd
boss.
game in like an hour after that, so I think
Yeah.
I went to go eat and stuff.
That's fair. I remembered that. Well, I looked up and saw the hit point rolls. Yes, Kristen.
I did level up, but I'm remembering that I had issues actually porting subclass stuff. So my sheet is
What
not
was your
actually updated. I think
what
we went with
subclass were you taking?
thief. Yeah.
Sure. I will get it sorted out. So, Bartleman, you woke up and then you quite quickly fell back asleep because of your injuries. Like you stabilized your 1 health and you're in a dark cage and you're gagged and your hands are bound behind your back. And you cannot, from that position, seem to find your wand. But when you wake up quite as well rested as one can be in that situation, it's still dark. But it's evident to your well-traveled eyes that it's dark because the hard metal, seemingly cage that you're in is covered with some kind. You can reroll. If that was for health, you can reroll. The cage that you're in, which is quite big, is covered by some kind of material or magic that is causing it to be completely blacked out to the outside. You cannot see anything.
Um, is it clear? It's clear that like I'm in. If I like touch out, like I'm in a cage, or is it?
Yeah,
Is
you
it
can
just pitch
feel-
black?
No, you can feel underneath you. It's not even like a cage that has a flat base. It's a cage that is bars all the way around. So you can feel that like underneath you are like thick bars with small gaps between them. And because your hands are behind your back, you can feel that they're metal. You can make me a perception check if you like, while you're thinking and waking up.
Yeah.
Pretty good. The sounds that you hear are largely muffled at first, but you hear a voice a little bit closer than the muffled speaking that you can hear otherwise, and you can make out them say, "They're going to ask the paladin now, and if she declines, well, we'll just have to deal with all of them." The gruff voice kind of grunts back, says, "Sure, we are not really in the business of executing people." And then you hear their feet start to move away. And by the time she responds, it's muffled again. Do you have anything you would like to do before I move on to Nisakana?
Um, I try to like zoom into my familiar who's not in the fight. Am I too far away? It's 100 feet, so probably. I mentioned they were just back at camp.
It is. They are too far away. If they were back at camp, which I think is where. Yeah, you said back at camp, right?
Yeah.
Then yes, they're too far away.
Yeah, because I don't think I had a reason to try into the thing.
Yeah.
Um, kind of like ascending, but yeah, I'm gonna cast sending to, I guess.
You are both gagged and bound,
Oh, sorry, I didn't.
so
know
you
that was
certainly
dead.
can't do the verbal part of stuff. They know that you're a spellcaster.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
Even if you could get your hands free to do the somatic part, you certainly can't do the verbal.
I got it.
All right. Nisakana,
Yes.
morning has come. You probably wake up later than Frankie because of how restless your sleep was. So actually, Frankie, what are you doing other than being in quite a lot of pain?
Sorry, if Frankie, like, I don't think Frankie is moving all that much. I do think he is staring at the ceiling, trying not to move.
Fair. And then, if I remember correctly, Nisakana, did you not lay on hands, Frankie? When you woke up, we said that happened last week. We could have forgotten because, Frankie, you have a weird amount of hit points.
I think I
Is that from a level up?
I think I self
Oh, yeah, you're
healed,
right.
or I was considering self healing.
No, your weird hit points is certainly from the level up, so you have not received any healing. If you would like to, feel free. Frankie is doing it before you wake up, so yeah, you heal 7 points, and your neck
Great.
feels better. Not a lot better, but it goes to feeling like quite a bad muscle strain versus snapped neck.
Frankie does it again. Frankie's going to burn the last of his spell slots on this.
Hey, it's not a bad idea to not be at disadvantage about stuff all the time. What total of that? What's your health points at now?
After adding that, I started at 6, I added 7, and now, so that was 13, so now it's 22. Which is still bloodied.
50.
22
yeah,
and
it still
52.
feels. Yeah, it still feels like you have quite a bad muscle strain, but not as bad as it was before. Like it just feels like when you slept on your neck wrong now, which Frankie surely has many times. You also heal 1 every minute just for being a revenant.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think that Frankie in Broken Neck Panic remembered that before casting
No.
the spells.
I don't think that it's ever come really practically come up in a way that he would have he knows nothing about his state of being really.
Yeah. So but you will get back up to when you are at 26, the pain is almost all gone and you won't incur any penalties for your recently broken neck. Nisakana, you wake up maybe from hearing the spellcasting even. So well trained are you. What are you two gonna do first thing in your little cage? The third guy is laying down underneath a blanket, presumably is
And this is after Frankie is still lying down staring at the ceiling, trying to, I think, sort of self-assess any other damage. But as Nisakana starts to stir, he will glance over again. He's not moving his neck to look. He is side-eyeing and goes, so if I keep muttering to myself, is that going to interrupt your morning devotionals?
No, you're fine.
Well, no, I was going to continue to do it regardless. I want to be clear. Just wanted to
I
know
know.
how much it was going to bother you.
Not in an appreciable way.
Disappointing. And he laughs to himself and goes back to muttering his little healing words.
I'm going to see if anything has changed in the room while we were unconscious.
both of you make a perception check. Actually, not Nisakana because it is directed at you. So don't worry about it. You don't have to make a perception check, but Frankie.
I feel like given what I have described about how he is moving, unfortunately it might, unless if it is an audit or a visual
It's
cue that we
hearing.
are perceiving. Perfect. Never mind then. I was gonna say I will take that at disadvantage, but 16.
The other tiefling who's laying down, kind of under a blanket enough that you would have assumed he was sleeping had he not said anything, kind of says over in the direction of Nisakana, there's not many people that I've ever met who I wish kept their broken neck, but that man is unpleasant.
How do you know him?
Only those 3 sentences. He sits up and says, did you show him the letter? The note?
I probably would have.
He says, have you decided what you're to do about your dangling messenger?
Well, he was alive from the message, so I have to assume he's alive now.
He
Who
gives
is
you a
he?
look that
Who's
is
still alive? Sorry to interrupt.
Bartleman?
Are we worried that he's dead? Like, more so than I think I'm worried about everybody else potentially being dead.
He was used as a messenger, and I mean that or as a message board, and I mean that in a literal sense. But he was still, I could still feel his life force in him when I removed the message that was pinned to him. I still
Okay,
don't
I'm
know
going
where
to
we are.
need you. I need you to say all of that again. And I actually need you to describe to me what happened.
I fell into this pit.
Okay.
I met this person, and then
Okay.
Bartleman's body, unconscious, was slowly lowered down through that hole, unconscious,
Yeah.
with a note pinned to him.
Okay. And
And then once I pulled the note off of him, he was pulled away.
okay. So you and our new friend here are discussing the note that was pinned on his person?
Yes. Here.
I see.
I will hand the note to Frankie.
Picturing Frankie like.
it continues to say what it said last week,
And both
Which
of
is,
you two remember what that was?
which is
Is your broken neck healed, or are you reading with a broken neck?
Oh,
Are you
I think
better.
still a little bit.
it's achy, but not negatively affecting Frankie anymore.
Also, somehow I did not write down what the note said because I'm
I really
terrible at it.
that's how I wrote this. No, it essentially says, your friend's still alive. We have a task for you to do. If you wanted to stay that way, but I don't think they noted the task.
Well, this is less than useful. This is
I
nothing.
thought of taking it though. What
Well,
else is there to
I'm
do?
glad you are weighing your options. Have we tried to get out? An hour or so that I feel just a little bit better. Because I do think my neck might have been broken as of about 20 minutes ago.
It was.
Yes,
Yes.
very
Thank
badly.
you for your help.
That's why I put you on the cot.
But yeah, your friend could have left you in some grotesque, half bent over form, neck driven into the ground. She was quite gentle with you, which is shocking given how you've been since coming back to life. Also, you may have an hour. I have a pressing meeting with the Queen in an hour and a half, though.
Well then,
Who's your queen?
Frankie.
The tiefling looks at you like, I'm already dealing with this fuck. What's your problem? And then realizes that it's that you're dumb. And says, you don't really have a queen.
Shame.
No, I was mostly, like, squint at you a little bit. Goes, I'm gonna go back to the wishing I was imprisoned alone somehow. He like rolls into a cot quite gracefully. It should be said. But Frankie, you have an amount of time to start doing things. Who knows if that amount of time is equal to an hour?
An hour was just to potentially get four
Yeah.
more hit points, say.
Yeah, you have that back. It's actually at the start of every turn. So
It's even less
Perfect.
time. It's like 10
so we've got
minutes.
6 pots.
it's like
20 feet up is the hole.
yep.
And distance you cover. What is like the wall material?
Stone.
Okay. And what do I still have on my person?
Everything you took with you to the thing, which is everything, because you travel with all your stuff always, pretty much,
Yeah.
right?
That is true. So Frankie, is it like stone slab? Is it like stone stacked on top of each other?
It's like dug out stone, like
Okay.
picked out stone. Really, it's kind of like a stone dirt thing. It's certainly climbable.
Yeah. No, so Frankie gets into his pouch, and I am trying to go and check my inventory, but certainly I have the type of pouch. I selected the one that allows me to have like picks and shit in it, or like the little presumably I picked a burglar's pack. That would be crazy if I didn't.
It looks like you picked an entertainer's pack, but
That's upsetting.
oh no, it's probably just because you started as bard and it did it automatically.
Mhm.
Give me a second and I'll import a burglar's pack for you, because I'm pretty confident that we've said that you have a burglar's pack.
I think they burgled one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that you've ever made any pretense of having a. You should have it now. It's the second backpack in your thing, and that will have the correct stuff in it.
Perfect.
Well, you had a crowbar, which comes in that.
So Frankie like is taking stock of the room around here, and pulls out his burglar's pack, hammer, and the metal spikes
Pittance.
used for climbing. Thank you.
Cool.
The pittance, and start seeing if there are like natural places in the wall that he could also like strike a couple like into. And like as he's like doing that is like scrambling up the wall a little bit. How in the center, like where is the hole? Like
It's a 5-foot hole in the center of a slightly wider than 15-foot room. So there's about 7 feet on each side between the
okay,
hole
and
and the walls.
And is it's graded?
Yeah, there's a grate. You like when you look up, you can see a grate on over the top.
So Frankie pulls out some extra rope, crowbar, ties the crowbar or the crowbar to the rope, and sort of like balancing on his pigeons so he doesn't need like both hands on the wall, is going to like swing that crowbar to try to get it through the grate, like and throw to try to get it through the grate.
Sure.
Which feels like I
you
have now
definitely
hit the point I need to make a roll.
yes, you definitely can do it. It's whether or not it makes a lot of noise. So I want you to roll stealth. Which is better than it being just athletics. Which it would have been if you were just throwing it off the ground. Let me switch this to GM roll. That was a 16, right? Roll me a D5. Or a D10. Whichever's easier.
D10's probably easier.
Great. So a 1. Yes, your crowbar latches. It's not an easy throw because the gap is not so big that that the crowbar like can effortlessly hook in. It's not like going all the way up and then coming in. You have to like throw it very well, which you do. And Nisakana, you barely hear like a metal on metal sound even as you're presumably watching this.
How's it going?
Perfect. So now, pretty all right, I think. And then Frankie is going to, like take the rope and like use that to like swing back down to the floor. And is it okay if the rope itself has like knots sort of like pre-tied in it to help with like ease of climbing? So he swings down, hits the floor, and then climbs the rope back up. Like almost ties himself like a little harness with it so that he can sit, and like is peering through the grate to just see sort of what the lay of the land is like above it.
Sure. You can't see an enormous amount above it. Seems to have like it's like there's a shaft going up that you can't really you got dark vision, right? It looks like it goes about 10 feet, 10-ish feet, to something else blocking it that is not even a see-through as this grate, which is quite difficult to see through. Only because you're so close to it can you look through it. But you can make me a perception check if you like. It's immediately apparent that this is not a grate that locks and moves manually. It's certainly a mechanism to open this grate. But you can see from this close to the right side of the grate. It's like the north side, so the north side of the room. You can kind of see up into the mechanism, but there's not a lot of room to try and operate it manually with that knowledge.
And okay, so it doesn't unlock manually in terms of like opening it properly and through like the ways in which one would normally want to open a door. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't hinges that with like a little bit of help.
It's actually a like moving
it
sideways
slides.
thing. It slides back and forth.
Okay.
The fact that both Nisakana and the man in this room did know and chose to just let you go about your business. But yeah, you certainly could try and manipulate the mechanism to like shift the gears to pull it in at least enough for you to get your hand in, and then maybe you could push it. You don't know how you don't know how locked it is into place once it starts moving.
Yeah, what Frankie would not want to like try to open it and then like try to like just stick a hand in there. Like if he even saw that like things were shifting, he would be like testing it in places where his fingers wouldn't get caught and crushed first.
Sure. So to do that, you'll have to basically you can only get your thieves tools in, and you're trying to manipulate like the starter gears and try and get them turning over.
Yeah.
You will have disadvantage because even though you're incredibly well set, it's still quite difficult to do while you are hanging on a harness through a very small gap that you can't really see while your hands are there. And the risk is if you fail that it will potentially break your lockpicks. Or you could try and do it with a dagger. If you had one, it would just be slightly harder, but you'd only lose a dagger.
Yeah, I think I will. I don't want to use the thieves' tools because I will need those later, and I don't think that this is going to go well. And I think
Sure,
Frankie
okay.
has enough wherewithal to go that this is a bit of a Hail Mary.
Sure. Roll your sleight of hand with disadvantage.
Heartbreaking.
You feel like up and into the gears, and you can kind of feel you're like sensing more through the tip of the dagger where the different gears connect and like where the movement is, but you can't find the place that you would like try and rotate to start that movement, and you can't get leverage on places that are further back. And as you try and like turn it, you're so intently trying to turn it that you don't feel the tension in your dagger tip until it's too late, and it catches, and the tip of your dagger snaps. Quite
That's a good
loudly,
thing I have two of
far
those.
louder than, not far louder, the same loudness as the crowbar. But it is like a tinging sound as the dagger end gets stuck somewhere in the alcove that this grate goes
Mhm.
back to.
Okay, Frankie freezes. And listens for anybody approaching.
Make a perception check. You're only 10 foot below whatever the covering is up there, and you don't hear anybody approach, but you do hear what sounds like almost a shuffling of a foot, as if to set someone setting themselves to like you've heard it before when someone in a building has suspected that you're about to come through a window. It's that readying of someone that knows someone is coming. And it sounds to you with the 21 like it's coming from above the next the trapdoor above you.
Right. Okay. Frankie is going to sort of harness himself and like shuffle back down the rope. And looks at like to the group. So I have more information. Looking to still develop a solution based on this. The door, our trap door, our trap graded door up there is not going to open easily. which is good for them, I suppose. This deep dark hole really doing its job. And then if we do end up getting that bugger open, there is a trapdoor above that, which guards are certainly willing and able to start shooting at us as soon as we pop it open. However, good news, very easy to get up to these different trapdoors. So if we wanted to maybe strategically wait for the next time it was opened for us to then just hop back up there. I think that's we could do that. Go out, swords are slashing, rapier stabbing, and halberds just causing all sorts of gruesome chaos. And whatever you can do. And he gestures over to the tiefling, other tiefling.
You guys pretending to not be involved.
Yeah. Or you can
Am I
stay
still in my
here.
armor?
That's also.
Yeah, you have most of your stuff still.
I thank you for doing that, Frankie. However, I'm in plate armor. Climbing a wall.
You could
A little
take
problematic.
off your plate armor to help carry it. Surely you're strong enough to carry the armor while not wearing it.
That's a good point, actually. I could do that.
I could break the grate for you if you liked, but I don't know that would help the sneaky approach that you seem to be favoring.
No, if
I will certainly be quieter. I just don't know how effective I will be if a fight happens. Without.
if you give me the unfortunate fact of the matter is, I've burned through most of my energy for the day, and really don't have any other magical wells to pull from. But if you let me take 8 hours of nap time, I've got some spells that could help with that. I just feel like we might be on a bit of a time crunch.
You can also just take their offer and see what happens.
We could just do that, yes.
Meanwhile, in a different part of the world, morning has risen in Lorena's chicken-legged, thatch-roofed hut. And the trio of Movathra, the witch, and the dumb witch walk outside. Corvus, Lorena has her hand on top of your head, kind of just piloting you the same way you would move like an extremely stupid. I can't think of an animal stupid enough. But basically, you're just being like moved around like a doll by Lorena because she still hasn't healed you.
Yep.
She turns around and Malvathra watches as she. You've never seen her do this, so she will actually cast heal on you before that. She walks up, looks at you, clicks her fingers in front of your eyes, and says to Malvathra, "You know, I've done this more times than I probably should do to a young apprentice." And then casts heal on you, which removes the state. And you kind of don't remember. You know that time has passed, but you don't remember what happened during that time. And your brain kind of clicks back to the moment you were having before, where you were talking to Lorena, but now you're outside the hut and you get a full rest. As does Movathra. And Lorena still looks strong, but even less taxed than she was yesterday after using some spells. She says,
Corvus's face goes from that slackened posture, and he reaches up, kind of looks around him. Kind of does a full slow turning circle. And then a second one, trying to track, like looking towards the hut, then looking back at Morvathra. And then turns to Lorena and just a real deep bellows of a sigh as he stares at her. Master?
yes. And she, I think she answered you that way a lot when you were starting, where she wouldn't answer yes to like, you can ask her a question. She would just confirm that that's who she was.
Yeah.
And she did it before you were an
Corvus,
apprentice as well. Like when you were still trying to make her take you into her into your apprenticeship.
yeah, the corner of his mouth like twitches a little bit. I,
Uh,
I don't know what's I, there were others.
Yes, your delightful friend told me about them. Don't worry, we're on our way. I just need to. And she walks over to the hut, and there's like a little railing down out of the hut with stairs, so like it's a little. It looks mahogany, but it's always looked a little yellowy in tinge to you, and Morvathra are both very wise and perceptive. And she touches it not like you would touch a piece of wood that's a railing, but the way that you like touch a pet. And she almost as if patting this railing, and in an instant, she follows. Her hand like moves down as the railing lowers and lowers, and becomes the beak of a jet black. It's like a dire chicken. It's certainly not a chicken, but it is a chicken adjacent creature, and it has the legs of the hut, but is otherwise, for all intents and purposes, her familiar now. And she scoops it up, creates a full, honest to God, witch's hat out of thin air and plops it into the hat, which she then deposits onto her head. She's still in the form that Morvathra is familiar with.
Corvus
you
is
aren't used to.
just like looking at her, and just like his head's like cocked to the side, and he's studying her. How much different is this from when he was a child, or like when he first saw her?
Like, still so much more powerful than that. Like, if she was a 6 out of 10 power, then this is like a 9.5 out of 10.
Master, if some of that is one back from, because you said he's aware of his own like loss
that
of
like
witchery.
the passing of the torch in a witch
Yeah.
apprenticeship
Okay.
to the one that will succeed them in particular does take their powers.
All right. If some of that is one back from me, from where came the rest? I mean, I think at this point he's slipped back into Elvish, and then he, like about halfway through that sentence, he looks over to Morvathra and forces himself back to common, and repeats himself a little bit.
Sure. She says, I lost a portion of my strength as I taught you and became your master, as all witches do, but I lost a hell of a lot more to the ravages of time and age. I only started to take apprentices when I was already fading. It's the nature of witches.
The other apprentices, would they have? And I feel like this is probably something they haven't talked about. So if it is, just let me know what I know in
Mhm.
character. But maybe all right.
There's a difference between one who is apprenticed and one who is the apprentice. One is singular. And she doesn't stalk back towards me because that's not what this form really does, but she walks up back over and says, well, all right, prepare yourself. To you, and she like holds her hand out to you and holds her hand out to Movathra. And she says, it has been centuries since anyone has seen my real form, but outside this region of the wood, I am not as capable of wearing the face that I wish. So you should consider yourselves honored. And she kind of almost effortlessly starts to spin the two of you as well, almost in a dance. And as she does, Corvus, make me
Make you a what saving throw?
charisma.
Charisma. Oh yeah, I'm great at that. It'll be fine. Sorry, I gotta get into my proper.
Sure.
Still have my feeble mind set up. And my one switch also has my feeble mind set, but I don't know how. So what was my previous charisma? It was 9, and then my previous int was what? Let's see.
Well, it's weird that they both have it if you only changed it on one. I might have copied it too late.
Yeah, probably. Let's see. I guess a 12 right now, and then figure it out in a moment. Let's see.
You know your charisma, right? It's the int that you're not sure at. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure my charisma was 9.
Um,
It's my int that I'm uncertain of.
Your int, it was 12 or 13. Because you rolled last session with +1 and then +3 for proficiency in Arcana.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, Corvus, like, I think Corvus, it takes him a long moment to figure out that he's supposed to be, like, following along with her because he is still just kind of staring with that, like, faint smile on his face. And so he joins, like, 4 steps too late.
You're not supposed to be following with her, and you don't really think about it because she's kind of spinning you like you would spin a ribbon.
Mhm.
Where you are moving in dance steps that you are not really in control of because of how quickly she is moving you through the space. But you feel this feeling of warmth, and it reminds you of the sound of a fire and the smell of recently cured wool being weaved into shawls. It reminds you of freshly baked bread. It reminds you of the times in your childhood that you were left to be in solitude and weren't being pushed towards mercantile or elven studies. It's everything about comfort that you remember from your life. And you
Corvus's hand kind
see,
of raises up and, like, at the collar of his shirt kind of slips in and he feels that silk there.
and you see a similar, like, it's almost a blush on Movathra of like just the purest warmth of nostalgia that is good. And then make me a perception check with disadvantage.
Well, it did not take the 1 sec.
Forget you don't have perception proficiency. you notice in the final moment before magic takes the three of you that your footprints have stomped out a teleportation circle. Not hers, just yours and Morvathra's. And you see it shimmer with the arcane energy the second before teleportation takes effect. And then you find yourself blinking against the sun of early morning as you land maybe 10 feet north towards the tiefling camp of the solo freestanding chimney. You are no longer holding hands. And Lorena now stands taller. She's about 6'2", but she's about 7'5" with the witch's hat that is pure white. She has kind of an olive complexion and long hair that in the sun looks like straw blonde, but when shade hits it, looks like jet black. Her robes that she wears in this form is closer to a dress, almost like a in the bodice, like a Morticia Adams dress, and then into a kind of flowing purple train dress almost. And you can see just the tips of white boots underneath. As she looks around, clicks her tongue and says, "I meant to be about 30 feet that way." And she gestures towards the tiefling camp. And she spins her hand and a broom appears and she sits demurely on the broom and allows it to flow slowly to keep in pace with your walking towards the camp.
Corvus kind of exhales and he's looking at back between Morvathra and his master, trying to figure out what discussion occurred, but he knows better than to try to ask because she's not to be interrupted. And so he just obediently trails right where an apprentice should have that much opportunity to do because of how few times she's been able to be outside of walking somewhere.
At the same time as your arrival, which is already drawing some looks from the tiefling camp, Frankie and Nisakana, you hear first the heavy moving of a piece of wood that doesn't seem like it's on hinges so much as it's being lifted off the top of the pit, and light begins to flood in. It's still like soft torchlight, but it begins to flood in nevertheless. And then you hear the metal grate begin to roll across on its gears. And you hear a voice float down. "Have you considered whether or not you'll do our task, Lady Paladin?"
Been considered.
So will you?
I think Nisakana will then look at Frankie and do thumbs up or thumbs down.
Sorry, Frankie is scrambbling back up his pittance.
Oh yes, right.
That rope might still be jammed in right now.
Right.
Oh,
Okay.
you didn't get the rope down?
I didn't know. And I was thinking about whether or not I wanted to.
Okay, then the crowbar actually just full shatters in the gears, and there's a grinding sound. The people above don't seem to be perturbed. So they continue speaking, but your crowbar is broken.
That's
pittons are
fine.
still
But
there.
is the rope? The pittons are still there, and did the rope fall, or did the rope get pulled into the gears so it's like still in
Just
there?
roll a d20, and on a 10 and below, the rope fell. Well, which one do you want? You want the rope to be
I want
okay.
it to be stuck there. Yeah.
Yeah, so on a 10 or below, it fell, and on an 11 and up, it stayed. Yeah, the rope is like jammed in there.
I think he gives that a tug. How
Sure.
stable?
Make me an athletics check.
Wouldn't life be good if that's not what I had to make?
It's pretty stable. You give it a good yank. You don't feel it move.
Can we see like if we look up through the hole, who do we see? Is it just voices traveling down?
No, there is what seems to be an older woman with white hair, and she's clearly a tiefling looking down at you if you look up.
Hmm.
Oh, I thought that you were dead.
Ah, merely sleeping.
Of course. But you can aid your companion then.
In what exactly?
In the task that she's about to agree to condemn your old friend to death. He's quite close to death anyway, just with how humans' lifespans go.
Well, no. We did sort of talk about this just a little bit. Lady Nessie here did say we could or could not agree to a task, but I'm asking what exactly would we be agreeing to? That was very much missing many contexts
I
that I
see.
was given.
I see. You're under the impression that you have any leverage to decide whether you're going to do it.
Um,
I really asked as a
yes.
formality. If you would like to remain in prison, that's fine.
Oh, I don't stay in these places for long. No, I think I'm going to ask again, and I'm just curious as to what you think you have to lose if you tell us before we agree.
Make me a insight check and then a persuasion check.
Okay.
You are very confident that you are getting on her literal last nerve. And yet, she says, well, I suppose I could just tell you. She says, we simply need some people that are not tieflings to go and destroy the arcane magics around Rowan's cradle.
That's what was told to me. I will shut up.
That's what?
You didn't tell me that.
Wasn't it? Was that told to me?
No,
Or is that in the
I'm
note?
pretty sure that it was
Or is that
willfully
just?
not in the message.
Oh,
It was
never
like, you're
mind.
going to do a task for us.
Boop, 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 boop.
Yeah.
Eat that up.
I see. I see. So any particular reason that you're specifying that not tieflings have to do it? And I will also point out, as far as I can be identified as anything, that is what I am.
Well, yes, that's true until you look at you with any form of truth.
I'm not here to debate philosophy with you. I imagine it would be quite fun, actually.
I imagine that you would think so. You all hear her over her shoulder says, if they haven't given us an answer in 10 seconds, just execute the
I'll
order
do
and we'll
it.
find someone else. Oh, see, that was so easy. She sighs, and you see her push herself up. She's like lying down to look down the hole and like to pull that. Excellent. Great. Thank you so much. I offered him the same deal, and he chose the path of violets. He did try and cast a spell on me.
He is a wizard. He will
But,
just do that.
well, yes, but I have
Frankie is
many.
doing Cowlick is going, now wait a minute.
He's like, Frankie, she's like, yes, well, I have subordinates who are assassins, but they don't just begin with assassinating people. Saying he will do that is, she sighs and says, Roots, pull down the, you drop down the ladder. And a few moments later, a rope ladder is extended to the two of you.
Oh, the worst kind of letter.
Just
For you.
Yeah.
Well, just to be a bit of a shit, Frankie actually goes in and starts again scrambling up his pittance, and like as he's going up, pulling them out behind him, which he had mainly actually set up so that Nisakana could maybe use as well. But that's neither here nor there. And then now that I'm assuming the rope is now closer to the wall, we'll take a grab at that. No, probably he could have actually had that with him while he was climbing up the pit, and will actually climb as far as that rope will let him get before grabbing onto the rope ladder. And is also going to take a moment to try and get the rope out of the gears again.
You can make an athletics check, but you are very confident that you will not be able to. It would take a massive feat of strength that you are incapable of. Yeah, you're like, you could spend an hour trying to get that out, and you aren't sure that you would.
No, and I can get better rope. I called down to the other guy, hey, if you fancy a climb later, I'm leaving this as a gift to you.
I hope the next time is permanent.
Well, that's not very nice. He simply
really
does
don't
not
like you.
engage this more.
You get to the top of the make an insight check, Frankie, because you'll get up first, because Nisakana's gonna have to make some checks to get just up that rope.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. When you get up, you do see it's actually the tiefling that you saw that looked so sad, and you knew that he had a noose in his room. He's wearing the noose now over quite heavy armor. And it kind of it's got a very long rope, and it drags over him and his antlers that come out to the front. He's like standing near the old woman who's kind of half looking at you, but also is listening to somebody that is standing near her that you can't see. Like the big guy is not talking, and you just simply can't see who she's talking to or listening to. But there's a couple of other tiefling that are a little bit more generic, that are also whispering as if something is happening. Nisakana, can you make me an athletics check while we find out what Frankie does with that information?
Yeah. 22.
You make it up.
Huzzah.
It's very loud.
Clang, 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 clang.
Well, I'd say this is a lovely family reunion, but I feel I might be here under duress just a little bit. and otherwise have never met any of you before. And that's not the way you treat family.
We're not family. And she kind of looks at Nizakana as Nizakana heads up and says, does this one need to have use of their mouth?
Yes?
Only a little bit. So
See if I ever heal you ever again.
that's fine.
The old woman looks you up and down and will make a wisdom save. She counts to 10 in her head and decides against violence on Frankie. You definitely have 26 health now. As you two are kind of, she separates herself from the situation. She makes a mature and adult decision to remove herself from the source of her irritation, and leaves you with Roots, who says, "Yes, I quite suspected you would be back amongst the living."
Yeah, I do keep popping up.
He
Oh, do you know
nods.
each other?
I
He
don't
shakes his
think we
head.
do.
No, just a sense for creatures of this type. Ones with sad, tragic tales to tell, I'm sure.
I do. I like the happier ones for what it's worth.
Mm,
It's just circumstances don't quite allow for that.
yes. I am to be your guide to the cradle.
Well, welcome to the party. You wouldn't happen to be willing. Frankie like glances around at everything and everyone else who is still in the space. And perhaps we can talk about this later. But you wouldn't happen to be able to give us more information as to why we're being asked to go destroy the cradle?
You're right. I wouldn't be able.
Is that because you don't know or because you're not allowed to?
Yes.
What's happening down the street right now? You're back.
Hmm.
Do you have further questions that I will not answer?
Well, knowing in advance that you're going to continue not answer them, I guess I will do what everybody wants me to and shut my mouth for a little bit. But don't count on that lasting long.
He smiles. Like, I wasn't. He turns to Nizakar and says, I hope your accommodation was not too unpleasant.
Been worse before.
He nods. And we'll begin to lead you out. As you are led out, you see coming towards the camp, firstly, a resplendent, beautiful, tall woman, and then Morvatha and Corvus secondary. She's floating on a broom, her white boots kind of kicking slightly as she's like flying on a broom that's really slow because it's going at the pace of Corvus and Morvatha is walking, and she's kind of like a little bit kicking her feet, waiting for them to get there. And as you you look at the tiefling around you, Frankie, you still see that sense of like extreme trepidation from all of the tiefling. And you see the old woman kind of come from a separate area, like she went out a different way from the tent that you were in. And she comes to stand and gives a signal to your guide to stay where you are. And we're going to take a break because Charlie is off dealing with something, but we'll be back in 10 minutes or so. Hello and welcome to the second half of Into the Shadewood. We are back. Corvus is here to see the old tiefling woman kind of approach where your master and you and Morvathra are walking. You did see past that both Frankie and Nisakana standing with the I think both of you are perceptive enough to realize at that distance, even that that's a cleric. Their armor's like emblazoned with a holy symbol. The old woman approaches, and I have to roleplay with myself. Gross. Why did I plan this way? The old woman's like, "Oh, I see that you two have returned with a friend." And your master steps off the broom and holds it much in the same way that a swordswoman would hold a sword while idle, in that it looks impossibly threatening, despite it being a broom. And Corvus, you do recall being swept at with that broom, and it
Yep.
is violent. Like, she might be
Corvus,
better with that broom than Nisakana is with the glaive.
Corvus mutters very quietly toward Morvathra. You remember what happened to the building? They haven't patched on her.
She goes to speak and then turns her head to look at you, like a parent whose child just said something and interrupted like the flow of what they were going to do, and clicks her tongue and says, "Yes, more than a friend, I suppose." And she draws herself up to her full height, and her dress and like hair begin to billow, and clouds like roll in, and she says, "I am Kiriel, the Witch of the Shadewoods. I am a descendant of the blood of Eve, the first witch. Now, I believe you have captured some friends of my apprentice, and I would have words with you as to what your intentions are." Corvus, make me an insight check. Uh,
30-20.
to Tara's credit, she is not cowed by fear, but almost everybody else in like the vicinity is not specifically you two. Nisakana and Frankie, you are not really close enough to be affected, but you do see this woman draw up, and you can kind of see her eyes. They don't glow; they're just so able to see everything. And the old woman says, "Yes, of course. Dame Kiriel, come with me, and we will discuss our intentions." And she will begin to walk, and Kiriel, you don't know the name Kiriel, by the way.
Yeah.
Corvus.
Yeah, that's like Corvus is like this whole notebook of his mind moment as he like suddenly finds out more in one like 3-minute conversation not directed at him than he has in his entire apprenticeship.
Yes. She walks, and there's no stone underneath her feet, and yet her boots click with each step. And she says to you two, "Run along. Your friends await." And she gestures at Nisakana and Frankie, standing with and also not particularly perturbed tiefling.
Corvus gives what is still, even with all this trust, a very shallow, tight nod and turns towards Nisakana and Frankie, and like very decisively does not look back to check on Kirill as he walks away. To our well.
You are very confident that you have not been dismissed from this space, just that you're being told to wait, Corvus.
Oh, I thought. Yeah, sorry. You said run along, so I assumed that was supposed to.
Yeah, up into the camp to the friends, but that's fine. You can. I spoke poorly.
Okay, so I should just. I don't know what I'm
Are we
supposed to be
together again? How close are we?
Yes, you
to
are
each
all
other
together
now?
again.
Mm-hmm.
You walk
Okay,
up to
that is
where
what I lost.
they are waiting.
Corvus, did you say words to me, to us?
Yes, because I assumed that's where
Okay.
I was supposed to be. So this is what I am
Yes.
supposed to be doing?
You are meant to be there, but you are not allowed to leave the camp. The others might be able to, but you are specifically.
Oh yeah, of course. No, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, I get that. Yeah, Corvus will stride up to the two of them and a little unusually for him, kind of is like looking them over as he asks if they're well, and that's all he had asked, Kristen.
Oh. Wait until you hear what Lady Nessie has agreed to do.
They have Bartleman.
And these two facts are related, but not a direct response to what I said. Corvus is still not operating on the same information that we are, Lady Nessie.
Corvus
So I said again.
out and out smirks. Corvus out and out, like, kind of leans back and smirks, kind of crosses his arms over his chest and says, "Do enlighten me." And he's like, looks back over his shoulder.
I'm very remiss to play Mavathra when Chris isn't here, but I think Mavathra says, what more needs to be said? They have Bartleman, and we do the thing they want.
And we get Bartleman back.
Well, why don't you say what the thing they want is?
We must go to Rowan's Cradle, which we were already doing anyway.
And do what?
Get rid of the magic there, I guess.
The exact phrase that I heard us agree to, and by us I do mean you, and I will say I didn't exactly protest too much because it was our ticket out, was to destroy the cradle.
Or to what end?
I was told not to ask follow-up questions. Or rather, if I did, they wouldn't be answered.
Well, my master's here. Do not. If a deal has been struck, it's not generally in her wheelhouse to renegotiate something that has already been agreed to, but Bartleman should be well.
He was alive as far as I last knew, but unconscious. But that was some hours ago.
Do I know the consequences of breaking Rowan's cradle?
You can make me an Arcana check. You also do know that a witch wouldn't consider a deal made while threatening, a promise made while threatening, like the life of a companion to be really binding at all. But Lorena is a particular witch, and you don't know this version of Lorena that well. But yeah, you can make an Arcana check about the consequences of it.
Yeah. On general principle, I don't know that when being held at knife point, having a companion held at knife point, the deal that you'll make is any better than. And so he kind of trails off as he thinks about what he remembers from like Rowan's, like his brief time in not quite libraries, but just home small book collections. What does 19 get me?
Nothing.
Cool.
However, Bartleman, you can make a check for a similar thing since you are just sitting idling in your life if you are curious about that, or if there's something else you'd like to make an Arcana check about.
I do
let
think
me-
Bartleman was actually told explicitly that
Yeah.
the hope was that like destroying the cradle released all of the
Yes,
Yeah.
magic stuff.
but that isn't the
Consequences.
consequence for the world.
Yeah.
That's just the consequence that they want for the reason they want.
Yeah.
So if you do want to know more about it, but you can also spend your time thinking about something else. If there's other things that are more interesting to you.
I mean, he probably spent some time trying to loosen the bindings. But if he's
Sure, you can
otherwise
make an
just
athletics
thinking,
check if you like. They're very well tied. But yes, if there's something that you want to think about, let me know. You can make a roll. And we'll resolve it after the conversation with the other four I have. Back to yeah, Clovis, you don't know anything. Like, you don't know what the magic of Rowan's Cradle is. Even in the stories, it's like an ethereal, like, it's magic in the same way that, like, the way the sun rises is magic. Like, it's unknowable in like what it actually does.
Got it. So the consequences are unknowable, and also like the previous history of what it was meant to do is also unknowable.
It is very much a holy site people travel to because it's where Rowan died, and there are arcane runes on it, but it doesn't serve a immediately obvious purpose.
Got it.
It's one of those places that's important because of the history of it, and that has manifested into magic, but it's magic that is not like an overt. It's not like all the rivers will dry up kind of thing, or like
Got it.
that kind of thing.
Corvus kind of nods and says, well, the situation is evolving. My master's speaking to the person who made this deal with you.
And I tend to agree that deal is a very generous way of describing extortion. Being threatened. It's certainly made under duress. This would not hold up in a court of law if such things existed and were not anachronistic.
There are courts, just not in the Shadewoods.
Oh. All right. Just to clarify, okay. You've agreed to it. You know that Bartleman is alive.
I didn't.
I agreed that reaches out and like does that. He's been patted so many times on the shoulder that he is going to like awkwardly reflect that pat and nod. Says, "It was a general you, Nisakana. You have agreed to it. Yes.
Okay. I would swear upon Rumelia, Mother of the Woods, if that would help. Roots, who is standing there because he is forced to by his duty, says
Swear what?
that he is safe. I tended to him this morning.
Corvus is going to insight this guy, who he is just kind of finally noticing in his.
Yeah, he's a giant plate mail wearing cleric that's wearing a symbol of. Do you have religion?
I do not.
Okay, he's wearing a holy symbol emblazoned both on his armor and also on a pendant, and he is telling the truth.
Corvus,
Hang on, I have to check a passive thing. Unrelated.
Yeah, Corvus nods at him fairly shallowly and says, "So he is well, and if you are so willing to take care of prisoners with such consideration, why all this?" And he just kind of gestures at what has happened to them.
He looks at you and says, I have tired of explaining to people who are disinclined to hear. And I will not do it further in this form.
Corvus kind of opens his mouth to speak, but then kind of tilts his head at him again and is going to study him more carefully. He said in this form, sorry, that whole smart thing is happening.
Yes. And your insight check can carry over to know that this is like, there is no way in any world that he is going to divulge that information. Like, you could enact the perfect torture to him and he's just done with like trying to explain this. Like, he's so over that part of this journey for him.
Can I get an inkling or try to like ponder what he means by in this form?
Sure, you can ponder that with a check of any kind you like that is not insight or perception.
Cool. I guess I'll. He said in this form, I've seen like some critters, like the weird stuff lately. I guess I'm more inclined at this moment to think nature over arcana.
Sure. Hard to say. He doesn't look like he carries a curse of like lycanthropy or something, which is very rare in the Shadewoods. He doesn't look like he's a shapeshifter. But he said form with a finality that is also not like a. Oh, maybe he's like able to turn into something else briefly. He's like not. Maybe he's a druid. It's like maybe when he said form, it was a finality.
All right. Yeah, Corvus is going to kind of nod and says, "Thank you for looking after Bottleman." He's gonna kind of watch him for a second longer, then turn to the other three. So I take it, Nisakana.
Yes.
I am disinclined to make a deal with somebody who has threatened us, but I don't know that I'd have made a different choice under the same circumstances.
Yes. So the
So
deal
there
is
we
done.
are.
Let us move forward.
Corvus is gonna look. As I said, my master is speaking to whoever it was that arranged all this. I leveraged he looks back over at Root still, and he just kind of like purses his lips and doesn't quite share anything further. It's just, I don't believe I can leave while she is there. Would be disrespectful.
I too have not been given leave to leave. Bottleman. Well, do you want to make a check on thinking about something?
Yeah, I guess he's just thinking about like what it's gonna, other than like if they are free, what that means and what might happen.
Sure.
If Ron's code is just right.
Yeah, make an Arcana check. You absolutely will not solve this question in one try anyway.
Sure.
But you can mark down somewhere that you've got one success towards that question. Because as you think about it, you're like, okay, what's like the extrapolation of if their plan comes to fruition? And as you're thinking about that, you hear a, "Oh, I'm so sorry, darling. I just honestly thought the old man would acquiesce," in a voice that you know to be Frankie's. And you hear the old woman's voice that you recognize as well say, "Yes, well, he didn't really, did he? And now it's fine. It's fine. You hear feet moving as if away from you. And one last, I honestly really did try. And about 2 minutes later, somebody comes and you hear them like struggling to lift up quite a heavy cured cloth on top of your that's covering the cage, and you see the old woman unlock the door, which had a padlock on it, and she says, "Well, a new deal has been struck. You are to return to your friends." And she just has a normal tiefling kind of lead you out in that direction, where you see Corvus Morvathra, a plate mail wearing tiefling, Nisakana, and Frankie, and at the same time make me an Arcana check.
Bad. 16.
You feel such a strong magical energy that it pales even like in comparison to, well, Alpensa also didn't reveal any magic energy really, but it's like nothing you've felt before as you see out of kind of the corner of your eye a tall woman wearing a witch's hat of white walk across towards your group as well, and she'll arrive probably around the same time as you, and you can make a history check on her if you'd like. She's a witch, and there's only like a couple of witches that are storied enough, and none that you can recall immediately off the top of your head, just from like looking at her.
But so everybody's here. I've been unbound.
Yes, they literally just took a knife and cut the rope, and I just roll to see if they remembered that you were.
And I'll untie. I'll gag at that point.
Oh yeah, Yes, because hands allow you to do that. Yes, you can. And you see in front of you your group. They led you a little bit. Like, it wasn't so easy that you were 30 feet away from them the whole time.
Oh.
And as you
I'll like
and the witch
move over. Really, I'm not saying it's two tieflings. Or tieflings.
there are a bunch of tieflings around. Cariel walks over and says, "Well, ultimately, I am inclined to agree with the Fae, though not necessarily with their methods. And given that the only tiefling that she can see around is Roots, she kind of fixes him with a really admonishing glare that he really doesn't deserve. And she says, so, I've decided to be their hostage instead of your... and she kind of looks at Bartleman and says, wizard friend. But I take it you understand, Corvus, that this means that I have made a promise to the Fae.
And so
all
do
that
I.
entails. She nods and says, "Oh, and I'm going to keep the delightful orc to continue our conversation. Don't worry, we're not going to be put in a cage."
Corvus just gives Morvathra that, you'll get used to it sort of look, but he never has. And
I don't think Morvathra is
Very well.
upset about
Yeah.
being kept behind either. Like,
yeah, no.
which is nice to Morvathra.
Very
Says,
well.
she like looks over you, Bartleman, who's been tied up and in darkness, is still like kind of adjusting. Frankie, who's all dead but half dead. Corvus and Isagana. Says, okay. And she she takes off her hat and she reaches into it and she pulls out quite a large steaming blueberry pie. And she presses it into Corvus's hands. And said, "You should eat before you leave."
Corvus squints at her and says, "And this is for us all to share?"
Yes.
he nods.
She actually
safe.
takes a slice for Morvathra as well.
Yeah, yeah.
While you're holding it, she cuts it and takes it with like a pie slice.
Yeah.
She'll
Yeah.
take it and give it to Morvathra. Do you need me to eat it? Are you still such an untrusting child?
Thank you, Master.
I would appreciate it.
She wouldn't poison you, Frankie. Well, not without...
Oh, I did hear much of the stories of your group, so who's to say how I feel about any of them?
You wouldn't poison Morvathra.
Well, sometimes you have to poison the people that you don't want to be poisoned, just to prove that you can do it. Otherwise, you become predictable. But eat up.
No, actually, before we start eating up, I do have some follow-up questions, and I do.
Don't it.
Oh, no, Frankie, go ahead. Feel free to ask me as many follow-up questions as you like, as you feel are safe to make.
Corvus, kind of like, and he's gonna go like step back, and he's going to find he's gonna look at Roots, and he's going to like step back and like examine the trees before he kind of like leans back against one of them and watches in just full fascination. He has actually he hasn't gotten to see his master with other people very often, has he? Like,
no, not really. Like,
and
just people
never in a
that
group.
live in the area.
Yeah,
No.
never in a large group. So he's just watching.
So, in fact, I didn't think we're all operating on the same level of information. What exactly is it that you agreed with the Fae about? The Fae who lost. Why are they calling themselves the Fae? Okay, no, one at a time.
I will answer your question.
What are they trying to do? And
I'll
what?
answer your question if you can answer mine. Why do you deserve to have the same information as everyone else?
Because I'm being asked to do something about it.
Interesting. So, despite the fact that it could cost the lives of you and all of your friends, you are such a principled individual that you would not do a task simply because it was wrong?
I believe that in some cases, some of us, this is exactly why I am in this situation now.
Corvus is gonna take a slice of pie and like set it up and pass it over to Bartleman. Fairly confident it's safe and
So-
it should make you feel better.
I answered the question you asked. So now you're going to answer mine. That was what we just verbally agreed to do. And that
Corvus
seems to be
grimaces.
something you're quite fond of.
She smiles at you and says, "There's a difference between an actual agreement and what we had, but I will tell you. Some of your kind, well, your previous kind, some of you, how shall I put it? The connection between the Fey blood that runs through every single tiefling is not always as strong. Some are unbound, as if birds kept in a cage. These people wish only to return to what they know that they once were, instead of feeling trapped and caged. Whatever good Rowan sacrifice, not sacrifice, not sacrifices Jack, let me rephrase it. Whatever good Rowan's incursion into the magic of the wood caused, it also caused bad. And who is anyone to decide that those who feel caged should not be able to be free? I will not deny them that. And yes, their methods are unpalatable, but not all things can be done with only palatable methods.
Now I have a follow-up question here.
Shocking.
I have spent the past several months of my life, weeks, months, I don't know, a period of time doing things because I'm being compelled by forces that I cannot see, and I simply wish to have the plot not just happen to me. Um, j- j- just so we're clear, um, you are now referencing that the methods are unpalatable. My interaction with the methods has been kidnapping, extortion, and then destroy this historical site, which I agree are all unpalatable. But I'm sensing that perhaps there's something else here that you could expand upon.
Which part would you like expansion upon that you think that I am hiding?
What does destroying Rowan's Cradle do?
It unweaves some of the magic that the woods had stolen from it 500 years ago. Also, you could ask me questions about why you feel a compulsion, but I wonder if you are scared to look that far inward.
what does unweaving... What are the implications? We've been fucking around with magic, and people are dying.
People have been dying irrespective. You have been as, well, once me, but as a group, the people living here have been dying to the woods, and the woods have been dying to the people living here for centuries. Unweaving the magic, I don't know what it will cause, but I know it will do good for those tiefling that feel as these do.
Um,
Yeah.
I know
Like-
that the consequences beyond the ritual that the tiefling will do are unknown. They could be bad, they could be good, they could be neutral. But I do know that the Fae will be freer, and that is something good. So
I
against
suppose.
an unknown
Perhaps.
future, good trumps unknown. Otherwise, why do anything?
Well, why are we? Why should we be forced to do what the
Corvus just
Fae
looks over.
want in the way that the Fae want? I offered them that I would examine the site and see if a solution could be found that helped them without the unknown being a factor. And they refused.
I
Therefore, I can see that they only wish to be selfish. That, to
Corvus
me, is
looks and
not
says,
good.
it you do realize you're arguing that you should have the freedom to choose, and we're talking in the greater context of it appears that the Fae themselves have not had the freedom to choose for 500 years, and he kind of glances over at Roots as he says that last portion.
That means that they should be able to take that freedom from others. I don't see how two wrongs make a right.
Well, you're saying that the freedom to choose to do a task that may be dangerous, it may not, is equivalent to living effectively in captivity for your whole life. Two
I-
choices are not
I
the
care
same.
not for the danger, I care for the consequences to the world.
So then I ask you this. When you broke the time loop of Verigen, did you think of the consequence then to stop doing the good of breaking the time loop? And if you did, how dare you? Because the consequence for that village was almost total obliteration.
What was the alternative? To continue to allow them to live in suffering?
All I'm saying is that if you do not do good, as you did choose to do in Verigen, because there could be bad consequences in an unknown situation, how do you ever choose to do good?
You are not really arguing to what I am saying. I was simply asking, given the fullest amount of information, before agreeing or disagreeing.
I truly do not know the consequence of removing the magic of the cradle, nor of the phase ritual.
That is fine. I am not saying that you need to. I blame you not for anything. I simply mean that
Very sure they don't know.
They don't care.
Are they why
You can
Lucy's
not
dead?
know and not care. Lucy's your
The gnome.
gnome?
The
No,
Corvus kind of reaches up
probably
and
not.
kind of like reaches, like looks the master in the eye, reaches up, kind of like touches at his, well, his heart.
She says, "I'm knowledgeable and not omniscient. I don't believe that they're responsible, from what they have told me and what Morvathra and Corvus have told me. But here's the alternative. I recuse myself from being involved. You don't do it. And she kind of looks around at the camp of 30 people. You deal with these tiefling successfully or not. I recover my apprentice,
Please don't.
and you go about your world. But I will, in that case, go and do the task that they would set you."
Fortunately, I don't think I can recuse myself from any of this, as much as I'd like to.
Barman just is going to shake his head at this incredibly pretentious woman and will say, "We are here, and a decision has been made. Follow along with what you think is best. Trust Luciero's judgment, at the very least." Sorry, Nisakana.
Nisakana.
That was a
Whoa.
weird
Actually,
brain
I will
fart.
say, when you say that you trust Nisakana's judgment, Frankie does openly snort.
Corvus
that
is
was
going
really
to
people.
Corvus is gonna like elbow Frankie lightly and say, she doesn't offer information often. You should ask about the compulsion.
Before you
I
can do that,
will. Then he'll
she,
say, if you don't, I will. She might not answer me, but did you say something, Jack? You kind of cut out.
yes, before you do that, she will. I'll roll because that's fair.
Explicitly, Frankie, and I am excited and would be interested in going down this conversation. The reason Frankie did not engage with that question to begin with was not willful. It's the Frankie of it all is, what does she know about me, and what right does she have to try to like talk to me about that? That was the mental calculus that Frankie was doing.
Makes sense. And yeah, that's probably what I feel like that at basic insight, Corvus would be like, yeah, you're just you're being stubborn here.
Yeah, so she kind of looks at you, Bartleman, and for the first time there's like a similarity between her and Corvus, where she like tilts her head in a way that is quite Corvus-like. And actually, I think it's the first time you've ever noticed that she's taken on a mannerism of yours, Corvus, even though she probably has other things as well, because you've been together for quite some time. And she says, "I understand that to you, you are a powerful and knowledgeable wizard. And I hope you live and thrive long enough to become more powerful and more wise and more knowledgeable. But there are things that go beyond what you can understand. And to have the belief that those of us who have lived for a long time have not learnt things that you don't know is odd."
He just says, "I think I understand Corvus a bit better now."
I'd be surprised. She kind of looks and says,
What?
if you have further questions, because she sees Corvus seems to have something.
Would you tell him about the compulsion? If you'd prefer it private, Frankie, you should learn privately.
I can tell you,
Frankie,
but I
ask.
wouldn't want to. And she waits
Frankie.
to see if you ask.
Frankie, remember the consequences of my lack of knowledge.
Fine. What do you know about me?
You died, and then you were
Yes.
reborn under the power of something. I don't know what
Yes.
thing. And that was to complete a task. And if you don't complete the task, you will cease to be. And then when you do complete the task, you will cease to be. But it's a task generally that you would have cared about in life, and yet you don't know what the task is. So I wonder if it is instead the bond with your gnomish friend, and it's what she wanted as her last belief that you are tasked to do. But I will tell you that the more you choose to not engage with the task set upon you, the more risk that you cease to exist before it's done.
There a difference in the nature of that ceasing to exist?
She thinks about it for a moment. And I was going to roll to see if she knew, but she says, I wouldn't want to inadvertently take the role of your knowledgeable friend, so you should ask him.
Corvus is just like, Corvus doesn't have to turn because he's been facing like both of them at the same time, but he just like, the expectancy, like that weight of expectancy has switched to Frankie.
I knew Lucy better than anyone.
Yes.
And I know that the last thing that she was doing was joining this fine group of people on a quest to go investigate why the woods was gaining more power in ways that was hurting us, me, the few kin that we had developed for ourselves along the way. And my understanding is that's what we're doing here now, together. It's finding the ways to keep the woods from hurting more people.
She nods.
My choice is my master's, so
She clicks her tongue slightly disapprovingly, but says, well, anyway, I have so enjoyed this. I'm glad I made the trip. Come along, Morvathra. We will continue our conversation from yesterday. And she turns on her heel, and her cape, dress like billows behind her, and she walks away. Who eats the pie?
Oh, Nisakana was eating it while this whole thing with Frankie and Corvus was going down. Like popcorn, but pie.
yeah, Corvus did that thing where he waits for Nizagana and watches Nizagana a little bit, and then shakes his own head at himself and eats it. Does it taste like a blueberry pie?
Did I say it was blueberry?
I thought so, but
Yes,
maybe.
you did.
Then yes. I thought I said it was cherry, but
No, you said blueberry.
then yes, it does. It's very good. It's like you've had pies that she's baked before. It's slightly better.
Um,
I think again, following in kind. Actually, after Corvus has been eating for a little bit, Frankie will kind of grouchily start to poke at it as well.
Bartleman, you should really have some of this pie. It is very good.
Sure, Barlin will eat some pie. He doesn't care that much.
Okay. Then you all regain everything that you had, resource-wise, as if you'd had a long rest. You get 20 points max HP until it's gone. And if you can cast spells, you get a permanent first level spell slot, which is all of you. So I don't have to come up with another one.
whenever she cast heal on me, because you had said something about my arm and my con going down.
Oh yes, it heals your arm, which reduces your con back to normal and your dex back to normal.
Sorry, how many spell slots was it?
One.
One
A
first
permanent
level.
first level.
Yeah, so con and dex return. So Corvus is eating this pie, with his with his good hand, which is his regular hand, and he like as he's like moving the hand a little bit, he kind of like looks and he reaches up and just middle of the meal just switches forks and resumes eating, with quite like a smug little smile on his face, like, how nice it is to move this hand again. Like stretches his arm out.
While you are eating your pie, Tiefling approaches your group, and in a hushed whisper that you can feel free to roll if you like, will speak to Roots.
What kind of a check would that be?
Perception.
Wow.
Damn.
This kind of the Tiefling, in a quite a hushed whisper, says, "Tara says you don't have to guide them." And he looks at the Tiefling appraisingly to see if he believes this is a prank or something like that, and says, "Well."
Paris is what?
He assesses the Tiefling to see if it's a prank or something like that, and then says, "Well, I am not required to be your guide, it seems."
Yeah, you can and do things that you're not required to do. And
I
you
think
don't have
it's
to do
I'm
things.
the only one
Hmm.
who hears that.
Oh.
Unless you want to make a perception.
Nope. Frankie's pissed.
Okay. Let us go.
You head off. It's only about, yes,
I was gonna ask what time it was.
morning, like mid-morning.
Like 10 a.m.
Got it.
You head off. Your camp is still set up, so anybody that didn't have all of your stuff, I assume you go and pick it all up.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, that makes
Right.
sense.
would you? It's about 20 minutes up the road. Would you like to talk during that time?
Oh yeah, we have so many things to say to
Yeah.
each other. Like,
No, specifically, like Frankie, I think is positioning himself next to Corvus. Again, in absolutely foul mood. Uh, did you at least get your tea set back in all of this?
Corvus, no, Frankie, I understand why you're irritated. Um, but no, I did not.
Well, it's a shame. We'll have to get you a new one when this is all over.
No liar string, or it's a liar that you lost the strings to, right?
Yes.
Above board, yeah, yeah. Didn't see your strings down there either while I was and there's like a sudden like his eyes suddenly light up. He says, "Didn't see your strings down there while I was finding a ring of wish."
Oh? And how did that influence everything that happened? Do you still have it?
Corvus just gestures back at what's going on.
Surmise that they used it since gestures at their arm and everything else.
I didn't know what it was when I triggered it. We were under conditions of silence. Didn't know what was going on with the rest of you. And so I didn't have a wish in my head other than the one of seeing my master returned to her full health and power. Which the most important thing for you to know of that is I will be perhaps less reliable than even I have been in some recent time.
I think actually, as you say that, Frankie actually slings like an arm over your shoulder and like squeezes like the shoulder a little bit, and he goes, "Corvus, if we liked you because of your reliability, well, I can't
You
speak to
don't
the
have
others,
to
but I
finish
was
that,
looking."
yeah. So just because I am still very confused as to what all transpired, can we have a bit of a and this doesn't have to happen on right screen, but a perspective from each of us as we were isolated.
You can share the information in an instant if you like.
Yes,
Unless you would
please.
like to do it roleplayers wise.
Unless you want to
See,
go
I'm
through it,
not
Andre.
convinced that like Nisakana would actually give all of the information. Not
Well, I mean,
intentionally obfuscating, but
Corvus turns to Bartleman. After you went into that door, is that?
Yes. I entered the door while I met the tiefling.
Tara?
Terra, yes. The tiefling Terra. Task. I asked for more information or time to investigate. She said do it or at the time it felt very much like do it or we're going to do it anyways and probably hurt you. I attempted to I attempted to cast a spell that would give me time to go and gather all of you, perhaps get out of there. Unfortunately, it failed when she began to attack me. Whereupon the fight started, and really that's where my plot story ends, I think.
Frank and I had 30 people shooting arrows at us.
Oh yes, I did see that. Not until after, but yes.
Morvathra
It was
and
like
I
great of shots.
Marvis like looks back between the two of you, and your armor and Frankie's arrow-ridden clothing were the
Yeah.
not that good of shots. Morvathra and I were in a room filled with things that had been taken before. There was some sort of construct that had a broom, and I think at some point this is where we met your let's not say friend, Tara. And it was not a very long fight. I suppose, Bartleman, after we fell, you must have gone somewhere else. Then we fell into the room where I was apparently unconscious for some time. Morvathra found and he's going to pull. There were scrolls in there too, right? It was a druid scroll that he gave Morvathra. It was just one scroll, or was it two?
Was a scroll that had something that you knew on it, and a druid scroll.
Okay. A scroll of clairvoyance and
And the
scroll that
druid one was
the
one
druid's
we-
scroll of plant teleportation thing. And then a ring that seemed to attract dust. But I noticed that there was something written on the ring, and when I tried to interpret what it was, that was when it appeared to be a ring of wish. Again, we were silenced, so it took my wish from my head, which kind of shrugs his shoulder, rolls his arm out.
You also found 2 rings.
The other ring was a ring with a ruby on it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. He will pass that over to Bartleman.
I'll take a look at it.
Sure, make an Arcana check. It's a Ring of the Champion. It increases your crit range by 1.
Nice.
Green for Insana. AIDS, martial prowess.
You think we will need it? Sure.
Corvus just chuckles and just yeah. All right.
Actually, I guess it just
that's-
increases all crit range. It's not necessarily
It is with weapons.
with
It's-
weapons.
Yeah.
I was like, because actually that could be good for a lot of people, but
No, it's
Not me.
specifically.
Not good for me.
I think
not
it's
spell
still. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't have that many spell tags.
So that's what led us into this arrangement. You were shot, and they attempted to make a deal with you, Nisakana, but they didn't tell you anything.
Well, we were shot for a bit, and then it stopped, and then I was walked to a room or a tent, and I spoke to a dude, to a tiefling, and then
Did
I
Nisakana say
was
dude?
no, that's Maddie. I spoke to Roots, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And then I slid into a pit cell. I met this other tiefling named Jariel. And then Bartleman came.
Jerial.
Jariel.
like Dario better.
And then I
Yeah,
was
it's
offered.
intentionally meant to annoy you because it's Jerry.
And then I was offered this deal via Bartleman. And then Frankie was dropped. And here we are.
I got shot, dropped down a hole, broke my neck, woke up. Lady Nessie told me that she had struck a deal or had been offered a deal. Tried to break us out. And then
Didn't
Lady
work.
Nessie made a deal. Could have worked if I had had a little more time and support.
Very well. So, Bartleman, you'll go along with us. I take it, Frankie, you'll, once you sort out what Lucy would have done, you'll do that?
Well, I mean, the way I see it, either I can influence how bad this might be, or your master will do whatever it is that they want and unleash anything anyways, so not really much of a choice.
I mean, I'm coming
For the
along with
record.
you, whether
Suppose if we could find out, for the record, Bartleman, my master doesn't spend much time convincing people of the necessity of a particular action, but I do trust her.
I understand that they have their point of view and shrugs. He says, sometimes the most powerful are not necessarily the most wise, even if they think it. I have a limited perspective, and it is mine. I will not say that in the scheme of centuries it is correct, but I see what I see. I've argued my point.
The cold wind from the mountain is biting as you leave the tree line of the path and you see a curved road up beneath a stone archway. Any of you that have been here before know that Rowan's Cradle is a cave just around the next bend of this path. So you have maybe a minute more to speak before you arrive, although you can stop. You're not particularly with the time crunch right now.
unfortunately, I think what I keep running up against is whether or not I have a viewpoint at all, irrespective of that's not even getting into if I agree or disagree with the viewpoints that are being said here or by other people more powerful than I don't have a choice on acting on my viewpoint.
What
And I don't know if
would
the rest
you-
of you are feeling like that.
What would you do right now, given
What would I do
that freedom?
right now? I mean, I think I would go and investigate. That's what we were heading up this way to do anyway. Was to investigate this area. I would follow up on the leads that brought us here to begin with. We were following after cultists. I would want to know where they had gotten to and what their ultimate goals were. And then I would go home. But I don't have that anymore. Because Lucy's dead. She's dead because she's a pacifist who didn't want people to fight each other, who wanted people to be able to live and exist with their own viewpoints as needed. And she's dead because of it. And we're going to be dead because of it.
Is she dead because of pacifism? Because it seems to me, I'm sorry, but it seems to me like she was taking a stand of her own, and
No,
I didn't
pacifism
know.
doesn't mean being passive. To clarify. I can't believe that she was going to that clearing to fight people by herself. Talk to them, perhaps. But I can only guess at this point.
You find yourself
Well,
in front of the cave because even if, Frankie, you felt like you should stop, your feet would not. And you don't feel like stopping before you enter the cave either. So all of you arrive here. It's quite a big cave opening. There's two continual flame lit torches. Bartleman and anyone with any Arcana skill can tell immediately that that's just a spell that's been cast. And it's not even so deep that you can't see what seems to be not a sarcophagus or tomb, but instead a simple stone plinth monument to Rowan. But Frankie, your feet compel you to move forward towards the plinth.
Sure, as we move forward, am I able to make I think the things that are like presenting some cognitive dissonance in my mind right now is I don't know what Frankie is getting directed to do, but I also know that if Lucy was operating, and I think Frankie knows this as well, that if Lucy was operating on the exact same set of information as the rest of us are, she would also not be moving on a path, like towards a path of destruction.
All of that may be true of Lucy, but you are a revenant whose feet will not stop moving because
Okay.
of your revenant compulsion.
Okay.
You can try and fight it, but the repercussions of that, who knows?
is anybody else like aware of this happening?
It's like normal walking pace. It's not like Frankie's sprinting full like.
Okay,
Mhm.
got it.
Not doing creepy ghost walk or anything.
Yeah, so like
So-
as this is happening, then Corvus finishes saying the phrase that he was, which was, "Well, maybe it's not unknowable. I carry some part of her. Maybe there's something we can do to ask."
I don't think Frankie is fighting it at this point, but some sort of like assessment or like piecing together of information that I would like to do here is Corvus's master like very much presented this idea that Frankie was brought back because Lucy died, and now his like compulsion is to do like to finish the work that Lucy was setting off on. but that's now not what's happening. So that's telling me, as the player, and hopefully Frankie, that there's something else. There's an additional force at play, and he's not going to fight it, but I do want to like assess it.
I will tell you that the Revenant compulsion doesn't care at all about what you know. So, what you know of the situation that you're in right now, your Revenant compulsion does not experience knowledge. You're being compelled to do a thing that is in service of your Revenant compulsion, irrespective of what Frankie knows or what Lucy knew or what the party knows. You are simply doing the thing that your Revenant compulsion is forcing you to do. So, Frankie, you can make a roll, but I don't know, other than to feel like he's compelled to do it by the thing that is keeping him alive. I don't know what more I could give you for a roll than that.
No, I think that this is a Frankie having I think I fundamentally misunderstood that Lucy was driving the compulsion sort of moment.
Sure.
And
Yeah, so
I
you can make a
like
roll
needs to rectify that.
Yeah, you can make a roll to try and. You don't need to make a roll to come to that point, but you can make a roll if you like to interact with a roll of your choice. And you just output retribution.
Yeah, it's just buff. Not buff, but like if I get hurt, thing
Sure, yeah, that's fine.
it lasts an hour.
Would it be crazy to pitch this as persuasion? Almost like you're persuading yourself of something? Or do you need it to be an int or a whiz?
It can be persuasion, because ultimately I said you didn't have to make a roll. So yes, it can be persuasion. That's fine.
It is almost just feeling like an argument one has with oneself.
Sure. Frankie this whole time thought that somehow Lucy was the energy pushing Frankie forward. And from what the witch said, it seems very likely that it's something else that is simply manifested from Lucy's strength of conviction at the end of her life. And however you'd like to interpret a 14 to convince yourself of that. You do find yourself with your chipped dagger in your hand.
I die either way. No, Frankie shouts back to the group.
I mean,
And
we're
I
all
think,
walking in, right? Like, because we were still
yeah,
conversing, so Corvus is right next to you, having asked, like, just about, like, what we could find out.
Frankie,
How subtly, because you just said that the daggers in Frankie's hand.
Passive of 24. But
Okay.
let Frankie finish.
Thank you.
Yes.
Frankie drops his alter self and just says, I don't want to do this. And I think is maybe hoping that somebody can step in to help intervene.
Can I insight to understand? Like,
yes, except for probably Corvus, who I think just probably gets it naturally. If I remember your passive insight enough.
Yeah, my passive insight's pretty high. 17.
So,
Yeah, both of you, but not Bottom. Both of you think that. Actually, I also need you to make a wisdom save, Frankie, because you are still moving. If you want to stop what you were going to do,
He's not
go ahead.
actively fighting it because I don't think he really
Okay,
knows how.
yeah, then that's fine. Yeah, both Nisikana and Corvus can tell that Frankie is kind of acting under some kind of compulsion. It's impossible to know what that compulsion stems from.
Okay. Yeah, I think I don't want to do this. Corvus is going to immediately. All right, he's gonna cast Entangle on Frankie.
Barman, meanwhile, is examining the magic in the air.
Yep.
Uh,
Nope. Corvus
Sure, you
is
can
given
output entangle, and Frankie, you can roll whatever is required when it's output. Battlement, there's not a lot of magic in the air. There's arcane runes that are like kind of slightly glowing on the plinth itself, but there's not a particularly magically strong force in here. That's not the right DC.
Yeah, I think we're wrong, but it's a strength save.
Corvus got real bad.
Yeah.
It is a
I don't know.
DC 15.
Should be 16, right? Yeah, okay, 15.
Because you got your level in.
Well, that's well.
Frankie, you are entangled, but you also feel your life force ebbing away as your steps stop.
Hmm.
Also, you're all exactly in the same space, so you all do need to make this save, including Corvus.
That's fine.
You're just all locked there.
Not me.
Nisakana and Bartleman, the tanky strong boys, are fine. Corvus also
Rip.
survives. What is this weird plant? Thump.
Yeah, Frankie's paper thin muscles just.
Yeah, just really beefing it. I've not had a lot of agency in all of this.
If this is the path you are taking, then it is the path we all must take.
Corvus is going to say, don't think that's the case, but you don't want to do it. He is going to turn to the whatever we're looking at that we had been approaching. And examine it with the intention of fulfilling what his master had asked of him.
Okay, what is everyone doing as if we were in initiative, as if there was a time-sensitive thing?
Bartleman
So Corvus
is
is looking at the thing.
Bartleman is doing a similar thing, I guess, but he's more aiming to like. There's a stone plinth. There's some kind of magic here. He wants to, if it's possible, to like reroute some of that magic or otherwise alter what's there so that Yeah, I mean, essentially, what Barrowman would like to do is try to acquiesce to the Fae's request that they be turned into Fae again without destroying whatever protections are here that guard people against the forest. Whether that's possible or not, he has no idea, but that's what he wants to do.
Certainly, Bartleman remembers that this is just a thing that will like expedite the process for them. Like they need this to be done, and then within a month, they could like in around a month they can do the ritual. If you trust what Tara said to you, which I think you do because of an inside check. So this wouldn't release them immediately anyway. But yeah, sure, you can make an Arcana check, and Corvus can make an Arcana check.
I think I have misunderstood this since the beginning.
In the conversation you had one-on-one with Tara, she was.
I remember her saying, "We can do this on our own, or you can do this and we can do it." But I just assumed that their ritual had to do with this thing. I guess I maybe made a bad.
Not as far as you have been told, but maybe you just weren't given that information.
Well, in that case, he just wants to see if he can accomplish destroying the plinth while preserving some of the magic here for later use inside floating wand that he has, I guess. Not floating as in literally floating, but floating as an extra.
A random extra wand.
Yeah, his like base level wand, I think is the only thing.
Yeah, that's fine. You just have an extra wand. That's okay.
I do literally just have a wand in my feet, so.
Yeah, and also I would be happy to say that you had 10 extra random ones that you have made like on the road. Nisikana, what are you doing before we resolve all these things?
Okay, there's this plinth. Are we inside the cave? Are we still outside of it?
You're inside the cave. You're like you were about a round away. But now because of entangle.
But there's nothing else in here. It's just
like a pretty small
the cave and the stone plinth.
There's some baskets where people have put flowers that are both fresh and like some are dried.
Great. Then I think what Nisikana will do is those can't stack though. I think she'll just pull her glaive out and then just be ready to cast divine favor on her weapon.
Sure. Corvus and Bartleman, I need you to make me an Arcana check. It sounded like both of you were kind of doing that kind of thing.
If he at the end of this Arcana check he thinks it would help him in any way, I'm also happy to use the giant's wand.
Before those Arcana checks go off, can I give both of them Bardics?
No.
It's okay.
But only because of the fact that time is so sensitive.
It's all right, Kristen. I got
this moment.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And also, you are going to be using your turn to do compulsion things, basically.
Got it.
Corvus, make your roll.
How is your?
I would have actually said you could do it to one of them if Andrew hadn't rolled first. So
do what?
And
to one
you might have picked Corvus.
And I would have picked Corvus, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yep.
How do you get expertise as a wizard?
Beats.
I am fully distracted. Like Corvus is looking over at the plinth, but then he like looks back towards where he's like entangled Frankie.
Remind me what you were looking at, like what you were trying to work out with your observing of the plinth.
Like how he would need, what he would need to do to fulfill his master's request.
Sure, you just scratch the runes.
Yeah.
Bartleman. Yes, you could capture as the magic was taken off these runes. You don't need to destroy the whole plinth. You just need to scratch the runes. But you could theoretically capture that magic into the wand. You don't know what the magic does, and you don't know what that would do. Frankie, you are in such pain, and all you can think of is damaging the nearest rune to you. So I need you to make me an attack roll as you throw your blunted chipped dagger.
Okie doke.
Yeah, disadvantage.
Yeah. And what does it being blunted change
nothing.
about?
For
Okay.
this exact thing, nothing.
And we said disadvantage.
Yeah, because you're restrained.
Mhm.
You throw your dagger. It arcs a bit weird because it is missing some of its aerodynamics in the tip, and it misses, and you feel like if, for example, you are holding onto your undeath by 2 threads, one of them snaps. And the pain, you feel like necrotic pain burning all the way through you.
Frankie starts singing.
Yep.
More than seeing this, having a plan in action. I guess on time crunch, it will start to scrape the runes off and take the magic into his Veilbark Giant's wand.
Sure. There's quite a number of the runes, and Frankie, you don't feel super better watching other people do it. You really want to be doing it.
What does Frankie look like as this is happening?
He's singing.
Well, yeah,
Singing.
yes, but singing is there's a lot of ways.
He he's gray skinned where skin is still clinging to sinew, muscle, and flesh. There's an open, gaping wound where a mouth or a cheek could have been. So you get this lovely, lovely shot of just clacking, moving teeth, and a tongue that shouldn't be working, but is, as he's I don't know. I think trying to instill some level of I have a choice in all of this through like singing, even if he's not actively fighting the compulsions himself. Um, uh, what normally would be like the 2 horns that come in just under his highlighting his very, very sharp cheekbones. One is like had totally snapped off. The other is like dangling, hanging by like a thread. And I think what's less important than how he looks right now is the way that his voice is cracking as he's saying the words or singing these words, high and lonesome, hard and strong, of like an old folk song, that he and would have learned as like a kid way back in the day.
Um, like against that backdrop and the like scrape as Bartleman brings the runes, like obliterates one rune at a time, Corvus says to Frankie, this then is better, me restraining you, than that making you.
It breaks the song just a little bit. I think so. I don't think you'll be seeing much of me anymore. soon, depending on how this goes. And he's like, how does entangle work? Because I do think, given the fact that like I am honoring that he's not
You
actually
can make a
funding
save
it,
every round.
I would need to be making a save as well.
You have to use your action to do it, and your compulsion was that destroying the thing was the
Okay.
important thing.
Well, I'm glad that my compulsion is kind of stupid then.
Yeah.
The compulsion doesn't. The problem is a revenant compulsion is not intelligent.
Yeah.
It's like
Yep.
you're within range to do the thing, you do the thing. It's just awkward that entangle is happening. Bartleman, you get through a bunch of them. But Frankie, do you have another dagger?
Yep, I do, and it's a +1 dagger.
Well, why did you get this +1 dagger?
Off of this was
Off of somebody's body.
From my guy.
this is the same. I got the no. It was when Nisakana got pulled into the clearing that one time, and then we started searching bodies. Or Frankie was the only
Yeah.
person who started looting bodies.
Oh, yeah.
Of the cultist.
Yeah.
If I recall.
Mhm.
Great. Yeah, you can
Yes.
roll that. Still disadvantage because you're still entangled.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I mean, it's a plinth, so an 11 is enough.
Okay, it's
the
not. It's
dagger
just gonna
arcs out. The dagger arcs out and just cuts a chunk out of one of the runes. You feel that you're not dead, but Bartleman quite quickly after that finishes the rest of them. Are you collecting the magic in your wand, Bartleman?
Yeah, I'm gonna.
It can be the basic one. It doesn't have to be better.
Andrew, feel like something cool will happen in this insurance one, but no, I'll do it in the base one.
The magic
Smarter.
is pulled. The magic is pulled into. It's like dissipating into the air, and you all see it kind of draw to the wand that Bartleman is holding, which becomes very cold to the touch as Frankie dies. Not a come back tomorrow death, but a disintegrating death of the soul. And that's where we will leave this session. And we will be back next week. Maybe. Yes, next week. Thank you for playing. And I don't know what's going to happen now. So, bye.